Cliff Williams, my friend Chandra, this is not gospel. I mean, in referencing when you say the left sexualizes everything and doesn't have the same value structure for kids that the right does. The left you're referencing isn't necessarily constituents of the left, like a left person. It's the established narrative. It's the message that is approved is, how do you make something good? Well, let's sexualize it. Let's show that you can stick it in a bikini and it's beautiful and we love it and whatever.
Well, and I think a lot of it, when I talk about the empathy and how like self-fulfilling the left is, the sexualization of everything is all about self.
Dude, look no further than what was the song? WAP? Look no further than WAP, and how that was like this empowering song for women, and this thing, it was like, this is just as big for women and entertainment as Aretha Franklin was back in the day. It's like, no, it says there's some whores in this house through the entire song. Like, how is that empowering for women? Because they choose to be whores.
Yeah, when I say the left, when I talked about how conservatives listen to both sides of the media, the left, most people on the left have no idea about this. Now, definitely your college students, your college leftists are all about sexualizing everything.
Well, and I know where some of that comes from is because
they don't got kids yet.
Well, a big part of it comes from the modesty, the push for modesty. They immediately say, well, that's just the male dominance patriarchy. Mm-hmm. You want us to be modest. You want women to be modest so you can control women, is essentially the narrative. Which, okay, call me ignorant. I don't want my wife to be modest, to dress modestly, because I want to control her. I find it attractive when she can look sexy in modest apparel.
What if you had booty
That's
shorts
me.
on? What if you had booty shorts at the mall? That would be weird.
Yeah, I would rather.
Think she would be like Cliff.
Like, okay, so here's the deal. I would rather me be able to put on a nice T-shirt and my wife give me the eyes and think I look good, than the only way she finds me attractive is if I'm, in my boxers or something. Which that's probably the reverse. She probably is like, you can put more clothes on.
And if you went to the mall and you got ripped and put on your muscle shirt, you're trying to attract people. That's what you're doing. You're not really trying. I mean, maybe you're trying to feel good, but the heart of that, and this is where, like, Jordan Peterson was talking about lipstick in the workplace, and like, it's a sexual thing. I said that really weird, but like,
you were like, it's the sexual thing.
It's like this the modesty talk. It kind of goes both ways, dude. Like, I know maybe it's okay.
This is something to talk about. Matthew West got railed.
Who's Matthew
Christian artist, huge Christian artist, biggest, one of the biggest artists. This is amazing. This is amazing. So
I don't listen to Christian artists.
I'm Cliff Williams, bass player
Christian
from Seventh Time Down, Christian artist. She doesn't listen to me, so we have an evil. We have an equal playing field. No. So Matthew West, Hello, My Name Is, Broken Things. His song Broken Things, I can cry. Listen to that song. It's really, really powerful. It's essentially based on, the cripple that, and I mean this in the literal sense. The guy was lame, who was the last descendant of Saul's home, and David brought him in, and he would eat at the king's table all the time from now on, and put him in the place of honor. Mephibosheth maybe was his name, but anyways, it's essentially like that. It's like, I'm just a cripple I'm just a beggar in the presence of a king. I wish I could be so much more. And if it's true, you use broken things, and here I am, Lord, I'm all yours. Really good song. So, but Matthew West, he has a tendency to write goofy songs. K-Love uses his song about Thanksgiving, Turkey Day or whatever it is, and it's hilarious. Every Thanksgiving they play it. He's done alternate versions of it. It's super funny. He did it live in the studio as a gag. And he has a big social media following, and he is the father of all girls, And so he did a song called Modest is Hottest. Did you hear it at all? He said, lyrics in it are modest is hottest. What the boys are looking for is a little more Amish and less Kardashian. What the boys really want is a turtleneck and a sensible pair of slacks. Modest is hottest, sincerely your dad. And it was a joke.
Yeah.
And it was about him giving them relationship advice and basically making fun of himself as being an overbearing dad who was just trying to teach his girls, you really just want to be like super clothed, like top down, like raincoat, one piece, kind of thing. And the liberal media, in particular, like in feminist media, completely railed him till they had to take the song off Spotify, YouTube, the whole deal. Said that of course, he's just part of the evil patriarchy who just wants to dominate women and take away their right to express themselves visually through their clothing, because men can't handle themselves and all this jazz. And he had to issue an apology, took his song down, and I loved it. I thought the song was great because I recognized the heart of it. It was goofy. It was him and his kids. It was like, and in my opinion, if a father doesn't have the right to be protective of his 15-year-old daughter, what are we talking about here? Like, he should have every right to be protective of his 15-year-old daughter.
I apologize. Go on.
And I only bring that up. I think it's an interesting point to bring up because you, as a woman, would have a different perspective on this. Like, I'm like, yes, people should be able to wear whatever they want, but if a giraffe walked into a Starbucks, I'm gonna look at the giraffe. And if somebody said, "Quit staring at my giraffe," I'm gonna be like, "Dude, I don't see this every day. It's a giraffe in the freaking Starbucks. I'm gonna look. Get over it." The same way, if somebody showed up in a Starbucks in a bikini, it's gonna be hard not for me to be like,
I'm sorry, you compared women to giraffes.
No, what I'm saying is it's out of the norm.
Yeah.
Right? So people are like, well, stop staring at me. You're assaulting me with your eyes. I'm like, sister, no. I'm like, as creepy as it is, a guy can look as much as he wants, in my opinion. But
I do think if you go into public dressed in a certain way, you should expect people to look at you because you're making a spectacle of yourself. However, I think Christian men should be guarding their own heart and eyes and averting themselves. And
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
I think from a moral standpoint, especially as a Christian, I'm going to try to avoid the possible, that kind of possible thing. We used to talk about it on the road. They had, if there's attractive gals, middle-aged gals or whatever who wanted to work your merch, and all this kind of stuff. The first thing I would do when I get there, because, we're in a band and they're excited to meet the band, the first thing I do is I pull out my phone and be like, look at my wife and kids, is the reason I do this, and just, like, immediately show them.
Yeah.
To make it all out there. Like, I'm love my family. I'm not interested in having any kind of issue that's going to be a problem later, like this is, I'm glad you're here to help. Don't even get a wrong idea. Like, I will snap a photo with you and I will do my best Keanu Reeves with the floating hands. You know what I'm saying? So I agree. Especially for Christian men, there's a standard, but this idea that women should be able to wear whatever they want and also control the actions of other people is where I'm like, that's a little far-fetched to me.
Well, I feel like...
Or men. Flip it around and I feel the same way.
A lot of the liberal agenda is not to uplift everybody, it's to bring everybody down. So women are being brought down to what the male standards have been for several years. Sorry to say that about men. But men are more,
They'll take what they can get in terms of intimacy.
Yes.
I've heard that. It's like, and
in communism and stuff, instead of everybody being lifted up, usually everybody is poured together.
Well, see, I've heard that before. It's
like Satan is just bringing everybody to hell together.
I've heard that before, this idea, and I've heard feminists say that this idea is just preposterous. But so the sexual awakening and liberating of women in like the 60s with the pill and contraceptives and all that, I've heard some men, some pretty popular figures in pop culture, and then like even in the intellectual space, like Jordan Peterson you mentioned, I've heard some of them who have been railed by feminists and said like they're horrible people, and and they'd say things like, why would the sexual liberation of women with contraceptives and the pill and all that, why would that why is the appropriate response to act like undesirable men? Because undesirable men take whatever they can get in terms of physical intimacy. If you're undesirable, you're going to whatever you can get.
Yeah.
They don't have the ability to be selective. And I've heard him say, why would a woman, now that they have almost complete control of the reproductive rights and their abilities, why would they begin to just, the acceptable thing is just to act like undesirable men? Why wouldn't they in turn just be even more selective and say, hey, now I've got control over what happens here. I'm going to be even more selective over who I sleep with.
I'm not super, okay, here's a situation. I'm not super into the idea of you're about to go on the youth group trip. You're going away for 3 days, and then they have like a dress code basically for girls, and it's like, it feels, okay, I'm actually pretty liberal as a Christian, like in a lot of areas, but like it feels super sexist.
I've seen the reverse of that. I was wearing a tank top in a bar, and they told me, you can't have no sleeves in here. You cannot wear a no sleeve shirt in here. It's in the summer. Half the women were in there in tank tops.
At a Christian show?
No,
I'm talking about Christian culture.
This was a bar and grill. It was like we're going to a music bar and grill to go eat and listen to a live band. And the guy says, "There's a dress code here. You can't wear no sleevers." And I was like, "That what I'm saying is I've seen the reverse of that, where I was like, well, all these ladies are in here." And he's like, yeah, but that's because they don't have hairy armpits or something like that.
That's insanely rare, though. That's insanely rare.
That seems more about class than keeping them moral.
Yeah,
right, but what I'm saying is, it seemed like the reverse. That's not a Christian thing, and they're trying to. It's like, oh, if we get pretty girls in here who we can sexualize, let's say, it'll get more dudes in here. But we don't want dudes in here with no sleevers. You know what I mean? So it's still sexist in a way.
Yeah, but that's not. That doesn't feel like the same thing at all, as opposed to what I'm saying with the Christian world, like the youth group thing, and the girls feel like their bodies are bad, and then they go cut themselves and do all these things.
Okay.
That dude was literally just being like, man, like, you're a dude, women are prettier, it is what it is. I feel like we can put up with that.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, right. There's not as serious repercussions on me, like emotionally and mentally, the fact that I wasn't allowed to go in there with a tank top. We did not patronize that establishment. We went somewhere else.
Once, because
not that much. Yeah.
I'm sure women have to walk into church. They probably have to think of like.
Oh, I got to think about that though. I can't wear hats and shorts into church. I wear shorts into church. I don't know that I've ever been in my church in shorts in 38 years.
Yeah.
Maybe when I was a kid, I had shorts.
If you're gonna go swimming at the youth group trip, they're not gonna talk to you, and then they're gonna tell the girls you got to do one or the other. Sometimes I feel like it can send a message to like women's, like, you don't want to celebrate sexuality, but you don't want to like.
That might be a cultural part of that. Might be a cultural thing because what I mean is, if you went to Europe and the most common accepted bathing suit wear for men was a Speedo, and your conservative church might be like, now boys, let's wear shorts versus the banana hammock. You know, I think in the same way that over here they encourage girls to do one pieces versus bikinis. But you don't have to tell guys that, because over here nobody's going in a Speedo.
Except for Daniel Craig, and he's allowed to.
Well, if he's in your youth group.
The targeting of women sexually and men in church is not the same at all.
No, I agree with you. On that.
This is part of the reason I've strayed away from youth ministry, is I feel like the youth minister's job is to tell people, hey, don't have sex, don't do drugs, don't do whatever. This Jesus thing, just don't do that.
So I agree with you that it does feel like some of that, it is gross to me to think that, well, our youth pastor can't handle himself, so younger girls or teenagers or 18-year-old girls, make sure your skirts are down to here, make sure you're wearing slacks, because it'll be your fault if he slips up. I think that's disgusting. I think that is disgusting because it's not her fault if a guy makes a bad choice or tries to take advantage. It's not her fault at all. It's his fault. It's his choice. So I think that's disgusting. I agree with you there. I think that's awful.
I had a code for my movie. The girls would ask, what can I wear? And I said, what would you wear out in public? Because this is a very honest film.
Yeah.
Just wear that. And she came in with shorter shirt. It's not like it. Like, obviously there's a line. Like, a dude's not going to want to walk into youth group, like, with his shirt off,
Yeah.
So, like, there's a line. But I was kind of like, dude, whatever. I don't care. Because
you can't be wearing the white patent leather or skin tight spandex. You can't be walking to church looking like Freddie Mercury without somebody being like, hey, hold up.
If we're at church and we're going to a pool party and maybe the goal of everybody there is to dress as sexy as possible, maybe someone has a conversation for sure, but like, I don't know. I just don't. Men over-sexualize things like crazy. It's how our brains are. And
yeah.
Like, sometimes girls, are just like, I want to look beautiful. And maybe is that I don't know.
My thing is I'm a little bit more libertarian in that you can do what you can wear what you want.
Yep.
I would think that God and becoming Christian has influence on your wants.
Yeah, and what I don't enjoy about people is like, say a girl comes to church and she's dressed very modestly, and then you make friendships, and then you're like, let's go to Applebee's, and when you go to Applebee's, she's like a whole nother person. She's got her
half
boobies.
A mile of cleavage, her booty's out, and you're like...
And it's like, why would you even... Just be who you are. Jesus sees you in Applebee's as much as church. Like, you need to dress the same in both areas, I think, as far as modest standards.
What? Yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to agree. That's why I say I feel like Jesus and God and being a Christian influences your wants. It influences the kind of attention you want. You know what I'm saying? Like, I agree with that. If you want sexual attention, in my opinion, I could be wrong. Again, I could be a product of an evil patriarchy. But I feel like if I want sexual attention, I'm going to make sure I smell nice. I'm going to wear the best fitting t-shirts that fit me the way that I think, or I'm going to wear me a nice button-up shirt. I'm going to dress in a way that I think is going to draw that type of attention to me.
Yeah.
And from my preferred audience, which is my wife now, obviously. But in the same way, I mean, I think what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If you want sexual attention, you're going to dress in a way that using your common sense as a woman, whoever, that draws that type of attention. Mm-hmm. If you just want attention to feel pretty, you can dress super modest and be complimented out the wazoo in terms of being pretty. But you're not maybe going to draw as much sexual attention as somebody else who's a woman in a nice pantsuit can look very professional and attractive. And we called it on the road. We used to call it business casual. We saw we saw a gal in like the button-down blouse and like the pencil skirt or whatever that still went over the knees or whatever, and we're like, and they're like, yep, she's dressed business casual. That'll get you every time, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But like, it's not necessarily the same type of attention as a lady shows up, really short booty shorts, super tight fitting top, cleavage, buttons open, like. In my opinion, we've been human beings long enough that we know that where the areas in which, you're going to get more sexual attention. So is there any, in your mind, in your opinion, is there any credibility to me saying, hey, the kind of attention you're wanting to get and the kind of attention you're going to draw, like dressing a certain way? Is there credibility in that? I'm not going to excuse bad behavior, but I'm inclined to think, the kind of attention, the kind of individuals even that are going to be gravitated to this style and this kind of thing.
Yeah, and I don't think that's limited to sexual attention either. I'm part of this Facebook group for holiness women where all they talk about is their hairstyles. And the thing is, they think once you return to the church and decide to rededicate yourself to God, you have to start growing out your hair again. And the longer it is, the longer you've been a Christian lady.
Because hair is a woman's glory and that one scripture.
And I love holiness women. I grew up in Pentecostal and holiness churches, despite more short hair. And but
I don't even know if you own a denim skirt. Shout out to all my holiness gals.
They don't know what YouTube is.
But
Oh, okay. Oh my gosh. Get this man a mic.
But in the Facebook group, everything is so hair centered. You wouldn't think Jesus had much to do with it at all. It's literally.
You think Jesus was a hairstylist? Oh, this is a Christian group?
Oh, that'd be such a good T-shirt. Jesus is my hairstylist.
He's got a toothpick and
He's got a Pentecostal dude.
he's got his own fop or whatever it is, pomade. He's got his own pomade. Oh my gosh. So a couple of buddies of mine who are single, they were showing me Tinder profiles or whatever, and it's like swipe left, swipe right, whatever.
So you're a married man on Tinder. Go on.
No, I'm not. I am not. I'm so grateful that I'm not in the dating scene in that way. Yeah. Like, me and Joel talk about this. So Joel has a community that God can use to build relationships. He knows artists. He works with video projects, meets new people all the time, and he's got a church-based community that's going to have, there's going to be a certain type of individual, people in church, they're going to have some common interests that are going to be more important interests for long-term connection.
You talking about like dating?
Yeah.
If you are like a single Christian and you want to like stop that, get in a church and start serving. It's that easy.
Well, right,
In a good church,
so
do not get
this
on
is
Tinder.
this is what happened. My friend, and these are both believers. These guys, I went out with them as sort of a social experiment because they went to this bar that's it's an arcade bar. So it was really cool is that it had a whole wall of pinball machines and like the old school video games, and everything was the original prices. So when Galaga came out, if it was a quarter, you pay a quarter and you play. Like, it's super nerdy and cool. Like I geeked out on it because it's like all my old nostalgic. I was like, man, I wish my kids were 21. I'd take them. We'd have a blast, So it was really cool. Me and Katie may go there sometime on a date night. But the thing about this place and the thing about the experience was that while we were there, they had their phones out and they were kind of swiping back and forth on Tinders or whatever it was. And my buddy, I said, so we're sitting there talking, and I go, so is this what dating is? Like, you hope to meet people this way? And he's like, no, this is actually what dating is. Let me show you. And he said, so here's the first message where we kind of connected. I was like, oh, cool. And then this is the message where they're like, well, me and my friends are going to be out here. Are you interested? And the person responded, yes, me and a girlfriend are going to be out there. So he's like, oh, cool. So we'll be there at like 7 or 8 or whatever. The fifth message was, so my average rate is like $100 and something, and this is what I provide, and this is what I'll do. A list of intimate
So they're just hookers?
behaviors, essentially. Just basically prostitution. If you want my company, me and my friend, it's going to be X amount of dollars for this.
Yeah. Girls are definitely being taught that their value is in their sexuality. You need to be selling feet pics. You need to be on OnlyFans. Like, it's really scary right now.
So the way you said that, though, is that girls are being taught that. Who do you think's responsible for that?
I think it's the lowering of society in general.
White liberal men in charge. I'm telling you.
So they're being taught that their value comes from likes on scantily pictures and
and I think it goes back to the love of money, like easy money. Yeah, all kinds of Satan-y type things.
all kinds of bad things.
Being lazy, only loving money.
Satan-y type things.
Yeah.
That is going in the show too.
T-shirt.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this clip from Not Gospel, if you enjoyed this podcast, like, comment, subscribe. Keep watching on all the social medias for new projects that we're coming out with. Some big stuff on the horizon. And as always, keep being awesome because that's how God made you.